Good morning, people. How are we doing? Welcome to another video where I'm going to be showing you how to train at a different gym, what you need to be doing to make sure that you don't lose all your progression from 1 week of a different session. And by the tone of that, you're probably going to guess that it's not a big deal. But we will dive into all of the details of that because I am currently at my girlfriend's, staying here, training at a different gym, and I'm going to show you guys how I am navigating that essentially. And if you can hear some sort of chirpy noise going on in the background, that is the alarm to her door that has decided to be constantly checking to see if anyone wants to enter, rather than just shutting the fuck up and letting people sleep. But it is what it is.
First meal of the day is oats, the jammy biscuit perform way because it tastes incredible, some dark chocolate and some frozen raspberries.
Coffee from the AeroPress does always hit the spot. So obviously you can see this is not my apartment. We've got random suitcase number 1 here. I think that's probably one of 3 or 4 full of clothes that she's brought with her but is actually never gonna wear. But it is what it is. So topic for this section of the video is just what to do when you're training at a different gym. So I've got pool today, and the main things you want to look at is, okay, can I sort of set up something similar? So a few of my exercises are machines, a few of them are not, a few of them are free weight, a few of them are cable. So the cable stuff is basically identical, you just don't have numbers for. So tick, you're pretty much doing the same thing, and that's not a problem there. The free weight stuff, well, it's a free weight, There's a little differences between dumbbells. One dumbbell that's a 32 might weigh 3,210 grams or something like that. It might be a little bit different, but it's not anything crazy, so you don't really need to worry, and you can pretty much compare numbers to numbers. And the same thing goes with barbell stuff, which is one of the nice positives about that sort of thing. So then from there, if you've got cable stuff that you can already do, free weight stuff that you can already do, but if you've got machines that you can't do, it's okay, is there something roughly similar at the gym? Is there, say, because one of the ones that I've got today, a pronated machine row? There is, yes. Can I use that? Yes, I can. It's going to be fairly similar, and to be honest, even if it's slightly different, it's not going to be the end of the world. You're there for 1 session, you're still going to be able to train well, you're still going to be able to enjoy the session, and that's the main focus of everything that you want to be doing. And just a note on that actually is, if you are enjoying, well, it's not on that, it's a completely different subject, but we're going with it now. If you are enjoying the video thus far, always make sure to share it with all of your gym friends who are really boring and like gym stuff and nothing else, so they need more gym content to watch. And he says literally making a career out of gym shit, but it is what it is. And like, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Comment if you have any questions. You guys know the score.
To write in all of my content for next week, I recorded the Catabolic Window podcast with Mr. Jack Archer coaching, and a training session will be coming with him next week. Then ate my chicken mince, rice, veg and pineapple for pre.
Back on my way to Future Fitness now, and I've been going there on and off for like 2 years or so, because that was my regular gym after my 2nd year of uni. And then I was at Apollo for a little while as well. I've got the trusty 1MR gym bag. It's got all of the good kit in here, the cuffs, the BFR bands and some sex toys if I'm feeling interested. That last part was obviously a joke. Sorry for the interruption. I was just walking through the lobby past the geezer who hates me because he has a crush on my girlfriend, which is quite funny, but it is what it is. Pre the van in the background. So yeah, in terms of knowing if you've progressed or not, obviously the cable stack's going to be different, the machines are probably going to be different, unless it happens to be the same brand, which is convenient. But even then, there can be differences between how well they're maintained and that sort of thing. And all you need to focus on in reality is just, have you trained as hard as you can do in that session with good form? Sainsbury's is shit, go to Tesco, but yeah, if you've trained with good form, you've done everything that you can do in order to get the most out of that session, and 1 session is not a big deal, because at the end of the day, your body only knows the mechanical tension that's being placed upon it. It doesn't know that you're doing a hammer strength single arm pull down. Okay, it knows that your lats, your traps, your rhomboids, etc. are being asked to do some work there, and that's it. If you're doing that, then you're going to be putting a stimulus on that muscle. It's going to adapt, it's going to grow, and you'll probably still be able to progress when it comes to the next session. Hell, you might even be able to take like 2 weeks worth of progression in one go, which is always pretty nice when that happens.
Seeing as I have a lot of movement of the spine through this session, it makes sense to warm up with just some spinal extensions. So what I'll do is grab some dumbbells, which I will make sure to return to the rack, position myself up on the bench and allow my back to come over round the top of it. And then I'm just thinking about moving every single individual vertebrae one at a time, coming up, bringing my chest off the pad and then stretching back over again. Before I go into a single arm internal external rotation with a band, and that's because again I've got a lot of pulling from overhead, well, one pull from overhead type of thing, but warming up this way will also help me in the other pulls. And it's the same reason why I do that for, say, my pull and my upper sessions, because I've got some overhead pressing and it makes sense to improve that external rotation range before that, even if it's just acutely. Those potentiation exercises are not anything crazy. I'm not going to failure. It's literally just 2 sets of 10 reps to warm up those joint motions. And you'll also have just seen my warm up for the single arm pull down there, where I did 10 reps with 30 kilos, 5 reps with 50 kilos, and then 1 or 2 reps with 60 kilos before I go into the working set at 70. And I love this plate loaded Nautilus press because I can set it up. You see, as the weight raises up, it also gets a little bit closer to the axis of the machine, which means it drops off a little bit in the short position as we get weaker. And I'll follow that same similar warm-up approach for all of my following exercises, although I might condense it a little bit because as I've done 1, 2, 3 back exercises already, I don't need quite so much of a warm-up. Then got a single arm lat row, which is going to buy us a little bit more of the thoracic fibers of the lat because they're in a better position to oppose it compared to the lumbar or even iliac division. But that's getting into the weeds a little bit. The truth is, this feels fucking awesome. So that's why I like to do it. Single arm so I can angle off to one side a little bit and really stretch that lat out by moving my shoulder blade forward throughout the rep. And it's time for the highlight of the session, in my opinion. The hardcore, the density builder bent over dumbbell row. I'm obviously taking the mick a little bit here, but I do really like this exercise because it feels good for me and it fits my proportions quite well. Now, whilst load isn't the most important thing in the world, I started out this exercise with 25, 26 kilos. I'm now up to the 35s, 36, depends on what gym I'm at because the dumbbells go up in different increments. Normally I do this session at the gym group and they have dumbbells up in 2 kilos. So the reason that the progression of that load matters is because I'm using the same form that I used when it comes to lifting the 25s to start off with, where the first ones were pretty strict, slow eccentric, making sure to get a solid depth all throughout the set. But those last couple of reps, I don't get quite as high up because it's really hard to finish this exercise in the top position. There's a joke in there somewhere. Because of the requirements of the movement itself. Okay, it's really, really hard in that shorter position and we're going to fatigue there first. So I let those last couple be a little bit shorter in terms of the range of motion, and that's okay as long as I keep it the same every time. You'll now see me setting up for a pronated D handle pull down. I'm using the gym pin attachment here because it allows you to change the width of the bar, which can feel really, really nice if you do get any sort of elbow pain or issues when you're just using a straight bar. Thinking about keeping the torso nice and stable here and just moving my shoulder blades around that. And so I can position the upper back in a position to fight the resistance, I've made sure to have a nice lean back there. And then it's just a case of keeping that torso in a similar position as I go through the sets. Whilst it might have taken me a couple of seconds to strap up and get into position for that exercise, it is well worth doing because if you're not using straps, yes, you might be getting a bit more grip work, but your back is definitely going to be limited in terms of how much work it can do. Now, I'm onto rear delts here, and what you'll see is that I've got the cuff position just around the top of my forearm, and what that does, by moving the cuff, say, from the wrist up to the joint or closer to the working joint, which in this case is going to be the shoulder, it means that the load doesn't have as much leverage over me, and therefore each sort of jump on the cable stack feels like less weight. So I'm not on the same pin for absolutely ever, and then when I do finally jump up, I lose 15 reps, because that is not an ideal scenario. You'll see there's a little bit of movement through the shoulder blade, but it's not anything crazy, because the position of the shoulder blade doesn't really influence the rear delt. The main thing that we want to be moving here is the upper arm. Now it is time for some tricep training, and we have got a cuffed cross body extension here. I have strapped the cuffs around my forearm so that they are nice and stable. They're not going to be moved around too much. And I prefer a slight lean forward there, still thinking about keeping my chest up and high, my shoulders in a stable position, and we're just moving through the elbow here. You'll also notice that by hinging over a little bit and almost coming underneath the cable, it means that I can line up my arm path with the path of the cable. It's not trying to pull me in, it's not trying to pull me outwards, and this is one of those movements that feels very, very nice when you do get it right. Although you do end up like you are some sort of Jesus reenactment sacrifice thing cuffed at the top before you set up for the next exercise. And I'd also realised that I hadn't taken my ring off, and that was digging into my fingers for these rope hammer curls. That is one of the unfortunate downsides, but apart from that, they feel really, really nice. You'll see I'm allowing a little bit of upper arm movement there. It's not going to drastically reduce how short your bicep gets or anything like that. All it's doing is bringing the elbow a little bit closer to the path of the cable, which means that it's not so challenging in that shortened position when we get really, really weak. And the reason that it doesn't reduce how shortened your bicep gets is because the bicep attaches across the shoulder, so both of its attachment sites are above the shoulder joint, which is why changing the shoulder position also shortens the bicep a little bit more. Now we are onto some posing footage here. I'm sitting at about 14-15 pounds down by the time these shots were taken, and the visual seems to be getting better and better. I'm past that, flat but still fat stage, and actually starting to see some new detail. As I turn to the back here, you can see that it was a very, very sweaty session, but it is what it is. There's not really much you can do about that. As they say, sweat is clearly fat crying, and the sweatier your session, the leaner you are getting. That is obviously a joke. How sweaty you are has no influence on anything apart from how hydrated you are, which is kind of an important part of performance. And you definitely don't just want to be sweating for the sake of it. But it is summer. I'm still fat. I sweat a lot. It is what it is. The post-workout meal is still the standard cereal, blueberries, whey protein mixed with water, because it tastes all right. It kind of gets that milky texture when you mix in the protein. And we're just featuring my girlfriend's orange peel that is apparently an air freshener. So with the meals for today, they are the same as usual. I'm not going to change those significantly just because I'm away for a few days. They were all prepped sort of before I left. So that's all fine. But if I was, say, I meal prepped 4 days ago and I've only got enough food for one of the days, what I do is head to Tesco's. Tesco's is the best, as I said earlier, and grab some canned tuna, some microwave rice, and whatever fat sauce I need, but that be avocado, nuts, etc. Really easy thing to whip together. You can literally do that in a couple of minutes. Yes, it might be a little bit dry, but it's better than getting a fucking meal deal or something like that. And if you can, get a little bit of veg to go with it, then that's sound. But you would have seen the meal sort of interspersed throughout the day. Like usual, you'll be bored. It's the exact same shit apart from the oats that we changed last week, and they are fucking banging. I am loving those at the moment. So that is all good. Only other thing that I have to say is I haven't done a coaching plug, apart from the fact that this shirt has holes in, and I clearly can't afford t-shirts without holes in, so please sign up for coaching so I can use that money for new good t-shirts. So it is just about time to drive home, although I have got to get the bird shit off my window, and I'm very, very mad about that because I've literally just cleaned my car and I've had to spend about 15 minutes clearing videos off my phone. The every probably quarterly removal of training footage that I never go back and watch, but I for some reason keep on my phone so that I can record this. 500 videos later, we are able to finish up the YouTube video, and the last point of the video is how often is it acceptable to train at a different gym? Okay, I would say if it's once a month, it's really not a big deal. You don't need to worry about numbers.
But, you know, if it's once every other week, if it's sometimes pushes at this gym, sometimes pushes at that gym, just depending upon what your schedule's looking like, because obviously I'm training at the coach and the gym group, for example. And what I've done is try to plan it out so each session is at a certain gym. But worst comes to worst, I can have pull numbers for the coach and I can have pull numbers for the gym group. That's fine. I'll just know what I need to do when it comes around to it 2 weeks later. I'll know, okay, yeah, I should probably be able to get 2 reps up on this, or maybe I make a decent load increase here, and if I can grab a rep, cool. That would be perfect. Grab a rep, that sounds a bit weird. But you know what I mean, okay? If it's fairly frequently, keep 2 sets of numbers for your logbook. If it's not, have a good session, enjoy yourself, it is all good.
Meal 4 is beef mince, air fried potato, plenty of veg, and the goat sauce American mustard.
So I hope you have enjoyed this video. Any questions about any of this or any topics that you want to see, I don't know why I'm being so aggressive here, comment them down below. Or if you want to leave a comment telling me how much you hate me and how awful this video is, that's absolutely fine as well.